we'll mute, I just wanna make sure it's working.
Do the meetings keep track of how many people watch them? Like how
You
many
can see
views?
views on
You
YouTube.
can.
We'll mute, I just wanna make sure it's working.
Here's that 5-second delay. Do the meetings keep?
There's a delay, so it's working. So Samalsh, so what we'll do here is we will Hi, Nairi. Hi, Eric.
Hey,
One,
must
two,
have
three,
quorum
four,
right now.
5, 6. We have quorum.
Okay, then we will start. All right. So it is 12:02. And we will call the meeting to order. Thank you everyone for being here. And I acknowledge with respect that we are on Robinson Huron Treaty Territory and that the land in which we're gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, known as Bawatting, and Bawatting is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Looking for adoption of the minutes from our last meeting. Could I have someone to move into second adoption of those minutes? Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Nairi. Nairi was here last time, right?
Hold on. Double checking.
I can't remember.
Well, you know what? I'm not sharing my screen. I don't think I have to, but we are.
You are.
Are we?
We're at the top.
Are we live streaming?
I don't.
I think so. Yeah, it said live streaming when I logged in. And you know what? I don't think I was here for the last one.
Okay.
Okay, no, I don't believe so.
So Mark to move, and I just need someone who was at the last meeting.
Let me double check my
No,
minutes.
not you. I don't remember if Corey was there or not.
Um,
Eric? I know I was there.
so present, we had Donna, Andre, Andrew, Tori, Mark, and Eric. Eric was here, so we'll need Eric to second.
Are you okay to second the adoption of the minutes, Eric?
Yes, I just got my speakers working just in time to hear that. Nice.
Thank you. Okay, so any questions, concerns, additions, deletions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Any declarations of pecuniary interest for the items on today's agenda? I see none. Moving on to item 5, adoption of today's agenda. So, could I have someone to move and to second, adoption of our agenda for today? Tobin, thank you. And someone to second. Corey, thank you. Any additions, deletions, questions? No, seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. We, moving on to item 6, we have 2 items on our green fund application agenda here. The Clean North Food Cycler project and the City of Sault Ste. Marie's application for small engine equipment. Emily, could you take us through, if I recall correctly, the last time we did this, we went application by application, and you highlighted what was on the scoring and what was on your summary and the comments from people.
Yeah.
And then we will have questions and then discussion, and we will go from there in terms of where we go.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so we had 2 applications to the Green Initiatives Fund for our Q2 intake. The first was a resubmission by Clean North. They took some of the feedback and the questions that were asked the last time around, and they made some amendments to it. I'll go into some more details on that when I talk about their summary again. And the second one was from the City of Sault Ste. Marie Recreation and Culture Department for electric lawn equipment. We had 8 committee members submit scores for the evaluation of both projects. Under each pillar, so we have 4 pillars: environmental sustainability. The average score for Clean North was 3.6, community impact 3.6, financial analysis 3.8, and innovation and collaboration 4, with a percentage score of 71% and an average project score of 3.75. For the city application, environmental sustainability, the average score was 3, community impact 3, financial analysis 3, innovation and collaboration 2.6, with an overall score of 57%. So scores from highest to lowest: Clean North at 71, and the City of Sault Ste. Marie electric lawn equipment at 57%. So I'm gonna go into a little bit more detail now about each project. So application number 1 is Clean North, the food cycler. They're asking for $8,609.86. This is a resubmission from the last time, Q1 submission round. Some key changes to note in this application is they clarified that this is a pilot and that the results will be shared with the city for consideration for scaling up. It notes in the application as well that city curbside, the composting study is 60% complete. When that is done, which it is not yet, it will inform more timelines and key details about the upcoming curbside organics program for the city. It provided more details on the nature of this project as a pilot and attached a survey with results, where results will be tallied from the participants in the pilot. And they also went into more detail about the technology choice and the highly subsidized offering in more detail. So as a reminder, Clean North is requesting funding from the Green Initiatives Fund for a food cycler pilot to purchase 75 food cyclers, which are countertop composters that make it easier for residents and businesses to reduce food waste. Food Cycler has run many municipal programs and work with municipalities, schools, and nonprofits across Canada. The funding will offset the cost to individuals at highly reduced rate with a $100 per unit subsidy to offset some purchase costs and create a home composting collection point at Harvest Algoma. So I just want to note here as well, the scores again. I'm just making a slight tweak because we got some scores in late. Not going to go over those again, but I want to go into detail on some of the comments that we received in the evaluation from committee members. So one member noted appreciation for the added detail around the food cycler product and the community education initiatives. Another comment stated the application is basically the same. I did review the machines they are proposing to support, and there are several issues with them. They take up a lot of space, tend to smell, are nosy, use power, and eventually end up in the landfill, negating any overall environmental benefits, so zero all around. Why don't they promote worm composting instead? The city will be offering composting anyways soon. Another comment, I really like the composting initiative. Another comment, funding not recommended. This is a good project and Clean North has an impeccable track record for successful projects, but the cost is high relative to the potential benefits. Visibility is low and the ability for additional households beyond the 75 units to purchase 75 units requires high cost or depends on additional funding to continue the subsidy. For that reason, I'm hesitant to recommend funding. So again, this application was asking for $8,609.86. And as a reminder, we currently have $23,000 in change left in the fund. And total asks this round were just over 10,000. Leaving with us, if we approve these 12,000 and change left over for the rest of the year. So Donna, do we want to discuss this application now? Go into more comments and then we'll vote and then move on to the second application? Okay, great.
Okay, so Emily gave the highlights there. I know everybody has read the added detail and the changes and made their comments and done their scoring. Does anyone have questions at this moment before we get into a discussion on the application? No one with questions? Okay, so I'd like to then go around the table. I'm seeing again, just from reading the comments that are here, I'm seeing again that there is a lot of the application scored medium, I would say, 71, so it wasn't a very high score. And I'm seeing some concerns by a couple of people about is it really a good thing to be investing, that the project's a good idea in terms of, I don't want to mince words here. The project's a good idea in terms of an effort to make composting easier in the community. However, well, you've read them there and you can see them around whether this is a good idea to fund or not with the remaining funds that we have. So let's chat about this. We'll just go around. Tobin, anything further that you want to add or
No, I guess.
say while everybody's here?
I like this project just because it puts the focus on the benefits of composting. There's an educational component to it that's different from other initiatives, so I would support this.
Okay,
That's it.
okay. Counselor Gardy?
I mean, I'm supportive of it. I like the education piece, the school you mentioned, and yeah, I don't have any other questions.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, my comments haven't changed from the first time it went around. I was all for it and I thought it was a great idea and it. You know, the ability to scale it up or put it in more permanent would be a good pathway to that, so I'm happy with it.
Emily, can you remind everyone, because I don't have the application, the full application in front of me, the purchase cost after the reduced pricing and this I believe it's $100 per unit is
150 and
100 and 350 or something like, is that the right
150.
number? 150 and 350, depending on
I think it's 300.
300, and is it the sorry, I'm getting there's the two
Yep.
two styles, right? So is it all the Eco 5 or?
And I just started checking.
Either or, they didn't break down the percentage of which one they're gonna buy.
That's why I'm asking the question. Do we know,
Cycler municipal subsidy.
while you're looking, I'm just gonna go to Nairi. Nairi, do you have any comments?
No, I really like this one too. I like the fact that there's two going to schools. Actually, I think more should go to schools because I feel like that awareness piece with younger people and consuming less or reducing their waste is pretty important. But I liked it. I thought it was great. So I'm all for it.
Thank you, Eric.
I was a bit on the fence with this one. My comment was the last one there. Where I think that the main hesitancy I have is that being able to go beyond the initial 75 requires more funding to continue the subsidy because the units themselves cost a lot of money. The educational piece was pretty good, I thought, although I like Nairi's idea of, I think I would be in more support of it if there was a stronger educational component, maybe perhaps if there was more lean towards putting the units into schools, I think it might actually have more impact. So I still hold my decision where I'm a bit on the fence of this and I'm leaning towards not supporting it.
Okay. My questions or comments are one of each. Why do we know, Emily, and perhaps Councillor Gardy can shed some light on this. Do we know why we don't know more about the community composting program that has to be put in place in 2025 at this point?
The study that's 60% complete is going to give more details based on correspondence that I've had with engineering on all of those things, like the sectors. Like I did follow up with engineering earlier this week, and the study will state all of those details. It's not complete yet. So it'll talk about the feasibility, the different segments, etc. It's simply not done.
And is there an ETA for it to be completed and then a plan?
I did not get a date.
Okay.
Coincidentally, I had a quick discussion with Larry Girardi about this yesterday. We were in Norway and I asked him and he kind of intimated the same as Emily. She said we're more than halfway complete from what he knew. But I didn't get an ETA from him.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I asked that question is because it's really important to this, and which leads then to there is no information in the application that I recall that says here's how we're going to distribute the units. That it's first come first serve, or we're gonna allot X numbers of them for educational purposes or schools or whatever that Nairi and Eric have brought up. There's no income test. So, if you could afford to buy one yourself, should you be allowed to buy one that is subsidized? And then furthermore, should this be more focused on people and places that, which is mentioned in the application, but is for people that cannot compost or is much more difficult to compost because they don't have, a yard or other ways, or a garage to do worm composting or whatever. I know you can do those things in different ways, but so those are things that I was thinking about. And how, but am I missing something, Emily? Have I missed the detail on that?
Yeah, so, just go back one, with regards to the breakdown of the unit, Mark is right, like, they don't percentify. And so I will have to follow up with Clean North on that. I don't know what the breakdown of the type of unit is. It's like, it's this for that, this is the subsidy for this model or that model.
Right.
Going into their communication strategy, they plan to use social media to do campaigns, posting blogs. They're going to promote to all of their members, all members of the public, and it'll be accessible to renters as well as homeowners, but they do not break down like a percentage of homeowners or renters or multi-residential. They don't break that down. Their target, they say in their application, we see our target audience being people who live in apartment buildings or small spaces that do not have access to a yard for composting, but they do not detail how they're gonna, focus that to those people. They talk about how they know that this will also drum interest from people who just have a yard but don't want the smell or animals and pests. And they'll reach out not only through social media, but through promotional posters, displayed at local grocery store bulletin boards, reaching out to property managers and realtors. Anticipate collaboration and the sharing of the project by partnering, gardening, and local food security communities. So those specific details are not gone into.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Final comments? So where are we at in terms of, I'm seeing that just for consensus building here, Tobin was in favor, Corey is in favor, Mark is in favor, Nairi is in favor. Is that correct?
Yeah, now that we've chatted about it a bit more, just thinking about the community benefits, like how much community benefit is there for individuals as opposed to like the school piece or businesses? Like I actually don't know if I agree with subsidizing individuals within the community. I feel like that doesn't have that much of a like you could have a larger impact, I guess, by going into businesses or even I don't know, larger businesses that it would be more visible that they're composting and people can see what they're doing, or the schools. So maybe I'm a little bit more on the fence.
So at this point, I would need to hear both from you and Eric. Are you in favor, or are you like the fence is not an option, unfortunately? So I just need to know, are you in favor at this moment? And if you're not, then you're not, which is fine either way. Eric, I'll give Nairi a second to think for Eric, you are in favor or not in favor at this time?
Still not in favor.
Okay. Nairi?
I will go with Emily, are you going back with comments to them?
I mean, if this gets sent back, if that's the way we take this again, I will for sure. But it'll have to wait for the next quarterly review.
Right.
This is the second time that it's come back.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, I think I missed that meeting.
Sorry about that, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's my
But
fault.
either we can call it or we can ask for more.
Anybody else have to vote still?
Yes, me. Yes, me. I will say I'm not in favor at this time from the perspective for the comments that I made. I'd like to see more details around who and how
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna go with not in favor, with the asterisks that, like, I think if it's geared to certain organizations or schools where it would be more visible and more community impact. Because I don't think individuals, like if you want a composter, chances are you can probably find a way to compost. So that's why I'm like, I just don't understand why it would be an individual level.
So
Final answer.
Thank you. So it's not gonna go anywhere today based on what we just said, Mark.
yeah, and I think to, I guess, discuss it, I guess, a little more, when we talk about this. So when we talk about composters for the community and things like this, compared to, say, these devices. They're really not set up for that larger volume. You know, there's the two sizes, but they're really based off of home use
Mhm.
and home use type of scenarios. So when we talk about, you know, putting them in schools and, you know, businesses and things like that. I just, from my understanding on the website and reading about them, they're just not set up for that type of volume.
They're not.
So
not
they're
commercial.
based off of individual use, homeowners and things like that usage. And that's, so if we wanted to say, put it in a school, you know, you're gonna have a volume. You're gonna have a very good teaching lesson, absolutely, but then you're going to have a volume that just, it can't keep up with the kids and things like that, so. That's why I kind of, or that's why I was saying it's a good program for homeowners, renters and things like that, because it specifies to them individually to say, hey, try this in your home for people who don't want to. I don't have a composter out in my backyard because of, we just got rid of the animals and critters from my neighbor having one, and I have a dog that I was concerned with.
Mhm.
So I don't have one in my backyard. I mean, I have a vegetable garden and all that stuff that, you know, we could use it for. And that's why I felt, you know, for those scenarios and things like that, that's why I felt this was a good fit for that specific scenario. And that's just, I wanted to just kind of clarify that, you know, if we were looking at businesses or schools and things like that, you know, there's alternatives that we should be looking at for recycling and composting.
So interesting you should say that, and not to belabor the point, and I do want to get onto the other application while Councillor Gardy is still here, but they're using those specific food cyclers at the hospital, because the report talks about how the hospital is using food cyclers and they would be an example of how they could be used. Is that the specific, so
Yeah,
I mean, I get it, I know, I had one, not
Yeah.
that brand, but I had one. I sent it back. I didn't like it for a number of reasons, but it was a different brand than this one. But if the hospital is, I agree with what you're
Yeah.
saying, but if the
Yeah.
hospital is using it in that way, perhaps there's something we're not understanding. I don't know.
Yeah, in there, so in an email, from Sherry, who is the applicant. She made a note about how they're going to, you know, talk about how the Courtyard Cafe socials use, like they do use the unit. But also like for larger commercial organizations, it's just, there's not enough. Like there's too much, like Mark was saying.
Yeah.
For this to be used.
I get it,
So
I
I'll
get it.
have to find that reference again in their application.
Do you feel like you have, that you captured, I guess you can look back at the
They are the
report.
ones who updated it.
No, I'm saying to be able to go back with our comments, because I want to move on. You have
Absolutely.
enough, okay.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to the city's application, please.
So. The city of Sault Ste. Marie submitted an application for electric lawn equipment. So they're asking for $2,356. They're seeking it to replace gas-powered maintenance equipment at the Roberta Bondar Park. With electric alternatives, so trimmers and one leaf blower. The transition is expected to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, noise pollution, while increasing operational efficiency and reducing maintenance costs. So, summary of scores: environmental, they scored an average of 3, community impact 3, financial analysis 3, and project innovation and collaboration 2.6. Score percentage 57%, and average score of 2.83. Comments received from the committee members are recommend funding the delta, so the difference between the cost of the traditional gas powered equipment, so that would be only funding $1,274. Another comment, again, this equipment cost should be part of their being the city's budget, and furthermore, the city should look at ways to reduce weed trimming and lawn cutting with the creation of pollinator gardens as many areas as feasible. Blowers are awful as they create dust storms of unhealthy dirt. Whatever happened to brooms and rakes? They could reduce their need for all these machines by 50% if they researched and implemented this strategy, so zeros all around. Another comment, I think this project depends on how much we have left in the budget. I think we've had similar discussions on this one before. Another comment, funding recommended. I think this is worth the funding, but I do wonder if the city should consider purchasing additional batteries. Will the ones that come with the units be enough for this application? So I did have some correspondence based on questions from committee members and the applicant, the city's rec and culture team. So one question was, they've asked about was what is the city's plan for disposing of the old gas equipment? Is there a process for disposing of equipment that is no longer in service? The response was most likely the equipment will be held for surplus sale or be scrapped, which would be the last resort. Second question, what is the difference between the cost of replacing existing gas fueled equipment versus buying electric versions? So I noted that above. And then and the last question was, has the city considered purchasing additional batteries? Will the ones that come with the units be enough? The response was, at most, I would require one extra. The nice thing is all three pieces aren't always in use. So one battery will be readily available, and it is nice that they all use the same battery. Once the park is weed lacquered and leaf blowed, it's good for a few days. It'll allow ample time to recharge. And he selected those that have rapid charge systems. There's a link here for that as well. So over to you, Donna, for questions.
Anybody with questions on this? Seeing none, let's go for comments, and I'll go the opposite direction this time. Eric, what are you thinking? What are your comments?
I'm in support of anything that gets lawn maintenance equipment into battery versions. I think it's a big reduction in emissions. So, and the cost is relatively low. So I support this one.
Thank you. Nairi?
I'm supportive, but I like the idea of just providing the difference between the gas and electric instead of the full cost.
Okay. Tobin?
I'm in favor. Yeah, I don't have other comments.
Okay. Councilor Gardy?
And I'd be in favor of what Nairi had mentioned, the in-between number,
Okay.
for the reason that I really think that this should be budgeted for, and they shouldn't be coming to us for this, and hopefully they'll start getting that message and plan for it, so I meet them halfway.
Okay. Mark?
So I had a few things. The first one, I did ask what we're doing with the old equipment, because if we're not disposing of it and we're just giving it to somebody else or letting somebody else use it, we're not really reducing, we're not really doing anything with it. So as long as we're decommissioning, disposing of the old equipment properly, I have no issues with supporting it. The other part to this is, we should add, or we should talk about in future meetings or add to a future agenda to, write some sort of proposal, have something to send to council to say, for future budget, budget for electric only, stop budgeting for gas and then asking whoever for the difference or money for the electric. I think going forward, we should be just budgeting or approving the budgets or making a recommendation for budgets for electric only going forward, because it's a significant difference, getting the old two-stroke and all those gas powered things off out of the system and going to electric for that. So those are my comments. I'm still in support of it, and I agree with Eric, getting any of that stuff out of the system and going to electric is a very good idea. It's just we need to start to, I guess, plan for down the road and do a better job of that.
So are you in favor of funding the full amount or just the difference?
I'm both, I'm in favor of funding the full amount if that's what we come to, or the difference if that's.
Can you,
Helps us go forward, get
Okay.
off the fence and say, decide, yes. I'm in favor of funding the full amount.
okay. My comments would be, I'm in favor of funding, the difference. I think that that's a very good idea. Whoever had that, it was not me. But I also want to point out, that the comments made around, what are we doing to create pollinator gardens and other things, like how do we make less space to blow or to cut or to trim or whatever, is very important. So, at this point, we are, there's a couple of us, I think it's myself and no.
Yeah.
Was it that in half?
And Corey.
So it would carry if we funded the difference, I believe, correct?
Yeah, so Nairi,
We have half of us that are saying fully funded and the other half is saying fund the difference.
correct.
So what, I need some direction here. Are we comfortable funding the difference?
Yeah,
Or are
I'll-
we defeating
I'll do
this?
that.
Yeah.
Okay. We're good? We're good? Okay,
Absolutely.
because I think that Councillor Gardy's comments were very important and as yours, everybody's comments are important, but it's like, if you needed new ones, then you have to plan for these things and we'll cover the difference, but we need to get in a different place. Okay, fantastic. So we have our,
Yeah.
so now I need a motion for that and that is going to be, what's the new amount, Emily?
So the delta is $1,274.
Okay, so I need someone to move and to second this motion. Corey Gardy, thank you, and to second,
I will.
Mark, thank you. So we resolved that the committee supports the request for funding from the program for the following project, which is the City of Sault Ste. Marie, Alberta Pondar Park Electric Lawn Maintenance Equipment at an amount of the difference between gas powered versus battery of $1,274. And all in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
no worries.
Here, feel
Thanks
better.
for staying,
You better.
Corey. All right.
So, do you think we could take just a moment or two to be just clear as a committee, very clear on what it is that we're asking Clean North? Like, the direction, like, are we looking for one way or another? Like, are we looking for this to be school focused?
So
Like-
I'm gonna try and summarize.
Yeah.
What I heard.
Yeah.
And then if I miss anything, please add it in, or if you think I'm not describing it properly,
Thank
then
you.
let's tell Emily. So I believe that we heard that there is no clarity around how the units would be distributed and to whom. And that the feeling is that subsidizing a purchase of a countertop composter for everyone or anyone who wants one is not the best way to spend the funds. The group discussed how what type of they stressed that the educational opportunities, as in putting the units in schools as an example, or some units in schools, would be very beneficial and would be worth funding. They discussed how making them there's no income test, and that making them where it is the most difficult to compost feels like it would be the best use of those funds. Can you scroll up please to the comments that are on that one? Yeah. We also don't understand, perhaps it's not important, but there's nothing there that says which units are being purchased. So we don't know whether it's the $350 people are going to be required to pay, or, and then finally, I think that that knowing more about the rollout of the city's requirement of composting plan, is very important to this, because the amount is significant. It's almost 20% of the allowance in a year. You know, so for example, if we knew that people in apartments are going to be able to compost, then, you know, how does that affect
Or if they weren't, then maybe that's the target.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. That's the kind of thing.
Perfect.
And we're just right up against that, and we know it's gonna start next year,
Yes.
but we don't know enough to,
Perfect. Thank you, Donna.
does that help?
It does.
And did I miss anything? Seeing no, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to item 7, the Boulevard Garden web page feedback discussion.
Great. Okay, so Nairi or Eric, can you let me know if you can see my screen, the draft write-up? Can you see it? Okay, very good. Okay, so, earlier this year, so March 18th, there was an update made. There was council passed a resolution directing staff to revise the city's streets and related matters bylaw 2008-131 to accommodate boulevard gardens. So staff met and looked at examples from other communities and expedited the revision of the bylaw process in order to accommodate the 2024 planting season. City staff will review the amendments and consider input received in advance of the 2026 planting season to see if any changes are required. So again, this was brought to council March 18th. The bylaw revisions were brought to council April 29th, which is a record in my experience. And this is a thing now here in Sault Ste. Marie. You can create boulevard gardens. So a web page dedicated to this will be posted on the city's website. I'm looking for input from the committee on this. I've got the draft copy here. It's also included in your agenda package. It's going to include a few details about the bylaw, links to the bylaw, you know, what it is, you know, some points about why it matters, as well as a link to Clean North's Grow Me Instead guide, which they worked really hard on and put together a very comprehensive guide on how to select non-invasive plant species to Sault Ste. Marie. And some additional resources as well that we received guidance from the Invasive Species Center here in Sault Ste. Marie. So the Northern Ontario Plant Database, the Northern Ontario Grow Me Instead Guide, Ontario Native Plants, Northern Wildflowers. I've received a couple of calls from residents, so having a dedicated website with some details, and we've seen this in a couple of the other communities that we reviewed, was great. So just looking for some feedback from the committee, if they had anything that they'd like to add. This is a city website, so it's good to keep it lean. But any comments about this, suggestions to add?
I have just a question. What are they gonna show examples from other communities of what a boulevard garden could look like? That would be my only suggestion. It'd just be nice to have some images so people could have some inspiration, I guess, or understanding of what these things are.
It's a great idea. It's my understanding that a press release is going to go out, so a link to this will be included. Thanks for that. Anybody else? No?
It's not my area, so of
Yeah.
expertise, but I thought it was a good idea. I think it's anything doing something a little different or making use of it. And I liked adding in the Clean North bit about, you know, non-invasive species and things like that, so that people know what they can
Yeah.
grow.
Do they have do they have links on where you can get seeds or plants?
We can't possibly list all of them. I know for a fact that Northern Wildflowers is a good place to start. They're based in Sudbury, but I'm sure one thing I was thinking of is like maybe reaching out to some of the like garden all of the garden,
Yeah, maybe one.
I think Clean North may have done that,
Yeah.
so that's a good idea too. Like where to buy locally.
Yeah,
I mean, there's the Sioux Horticultural Society.
Yep. They might be a good contact to have on there as well. In the getting started.
As a member, I should know that better, but I.
I recently joined too.
Emily, in the note, in your notes, it says that in our package was information. Is this what you're referring to, this document here?
So this is the draft
Yeah,
web copy,
right,
but then in our agenda package, I
Right.
did have a slide
yeah,
with a summary of what I had just mentioned about
Okay.
the timelines. You know,
it says the ESC provided with webpage draft copy.
that's,
I just,
that is what this is.
oh, I see. Oh, there, okay, so it is that
Yeah, so
document,
this
okay,
is what will be transposed
Okay.
onto a city website
Okay.
under their environmental
Okay.
tab.
okay,
A lot of other municipalities that implemented boulevard gardening did the same.
Okay.
With resources, etc.
okay. So my question would be, is there I realize that boulevard gardening potentially affects not the city's reduction plans, but in general, what happens in the municipality. So is there goals for this? Like we want to see, we're hoping to see X numbers of boulevard or X numbers of spaces or amount of space or whatever. Is there a goal around that? And if there is, or should there be if there isn't, but then what's the is there a measurement of how the supporting of the biodiversity in the local ecosystems, can we say for every boulevard garden, it results in this type of impact, like specifically, so it's more, so we can challenge people, so it's more of a conscious thing, it's great that we're talking about this, but it's very new here. I don't know that I can think of any at this moment, but that doesn't mean anything. I don't know if anybody's familiar with any areas of the community or any particular places where boulevard gardens have been installed. But I think that always it's good to have a goal and it's good to understand the result of that goal. And so if that could be established and or indicated in what's on the website, we're trying to get X numbers planted, it gives us something to target.
I think that's a great idea. We don't have a goal. It's simply allowed now.
Yeah.
And it's been noted. So if a goal is something that this committee wanted to pursue or propose, but we do not have one at present.
Are we too new into it to start putting goals on it? And talk more about promotion, I guess, to see what kind of uptake we get? And then see where it goes from there and then start to
I mean,
promote goals, I
it's
guess?
much more prevalent in other places, right?
Yeah.
So there's gotta be information out there in the world that says, because you do this, this is the type of impact it
Yes.
can have on your environment.
Certainly.
So, it just personally, I think it just gives it more
Meat.
yeah, right.
Yep.
I could,
I think like under the why boulevard gardening matters, like we
Nairi's
talk,
got a question too.
we've got the benefits, but then we can talk about like some of the impacts.
Mhm.
Sorry, Nairi.
I was just gonna make a comment. I just looked up boulevard gardening, and Mississauga has it must be something like Clean North, Blooming Boulevards, but they've got workshop, handouts, kind of direction for how people might plan out their gardens. So I'm just wondering if maybe that's something to think about, if it's possible to do some sort of workshop or webinar to not only promote it, but to give a little bit of direction and guidance on how you might go about changing your boulevard.
Good idea.
And then maybe out of that webinar, whatever, you could then start to have your contests or say, challenge people to get involved and say like, hey, let's try and get 20 of them built out of this, let's try and support everything. Yeah, I think that
I've
we could
noticed,
show some support for that.
that's a great idea, like, that's an excellent process, Mark. I've noticed that Clean North is doing a lot of promotion on their social media, so they might be a good collaborator for a workshop like that. We had, a couple years ago, a series of, energy literacy webinars. So doing like a workshop, like something like this would be great, whether like we could do it in person, but if we did it online, we could record it. And then it could be there as like kind of Boulevard Gardening 101 that people could watch on their own.
Just a teeny tiny little thing in that second last bullet. I think the last bullet belongs with the second last bullet. There where it says pea gravel or small rocks or. And then. Bricks, yeah, just there, because I was trying to figure out, can you put light fixtures? And then.
Got it, thank you. Always good to have another set of eyes.
Excellent. Any other comments, ideas with regards to this information piece that we're going to share in the community, or that the stuff that's going to be shared in the community?
I will put the utility hat on for a second here, and I
Yeah.
just, we should put some
It's in there.
awareness and warning around utility poles and curb
in-
boxes and things like
In
that.
in the bylaw itself, the responsibility is on the homeowner to make sure that like all of that is in there. So it's really important to not just read this website, like read the bylaw. And the responsibility is on the homeowner. Like they can't get rid of like, anything like if they're gonna go, like they, and there's potential utility, like they gotta figure that out.
But to Mark's point though, are there key things
Mhm.
from the bylaw
Yeah.
that could be bulleted,
Like add the bullet.
Add
about
the bullet
on-
about,
onus on the homeowner,
um,
yeah, and the utility piece.
Yep.
That's a good point.
I was reading something this morning where somebody put the highlights in. Oh, I know what it was. It's like an executive thing, but anyways, it was really helpful. Whatever it was that was at the front of the document, it was
Yeah.
like bang, bang, bang. So, locates our responsibility of the, whatever's in there like
Yeah.
that. It just, the full
That's a
thing is
good
there,
point.
but we all don't always read very well.
And also bylaws. So that's why this is
Yeah,
important.
and bylaws are boring to read.
And therefore, yes.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point. Thanks, Mark.
any other comments? Okay,
Okay.
seeing none, Emily, over to your staff update.
Okay. I'm wondering if I can like make this bigger. Slideshow. Current slide. There. Okay. Okay, so a bit of a staff update. We weren't able to get to it the last time around. But there's been some new additions as well from our main meeting. So the first was, and we'll talk about this in more detail as I continue my update. Last year, you may recall, we wrote a letter with 3 short-term and 3 long-term priorities to the CAO, senior management, and mayor and council. So we did receive a response from Tom Blair, the city's new CAO, at the city's draft strategic plan, which came to council and is now open for comment to the public, includes the environment as a priority, to be a leader in sustainability, while supporting high-level goals to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. So as I continue in my staff update, there's a link in this staff update PowerPoint that I highly encourage members of the committee to access and provide your feedback to. That would be on slide 10. Slide number 10. It is open to city staff as well as members of the public for comment. You can see the draft strategic plan on the city's website, and it is open for input until September 9th. So please do that. And if we want to do something more formal, we can always do that as a committee. Corporate EV charger project. This is a work in progress. Looking at putting electric chargers at 3 city facilities. and also planning for the full infrastructure requirement for all light duty fleet. Transit solar project, this is our first solar project at the city. This is underway at the transit depot. Roof replacement, we're replacing the roof at the John Roads, and that might sound boring, but we're actually replacing it so that it can accommodate solar in the future. We just had the kickoff for that yesterday, date's wrong, yesterday, today's the 16th. Still trying to find time to get in that application for the second round of funding for developing a community efficiency funding program. It's gonna happen, I swear. We got Boulevard Gardens, that's a thing now. Thank you for your feedback. The deep energy retrofit audits. So the draft of all those audits is 80% done. And we're hoping to have these completed by the end of July. Anything really big certainly will be put forward to senior management for consideration in the 2025 budget, because there'll be measures for each of the 6 facilities that have been audited. To like the capital costs, like to update them, like measure by measure. So that's really exciting. And this is something that we'll be able to look back on and use as a tool in future budget requests. So very exciting. Work in progress is our sustainability report. The corporate GHG update is done, finalizing some details on the community update, hoping to have this out to the community and council in the fall. Couple other things that have been cooking lately. We had an Earth Day student video challenge. We reached out to some schools, all the schools actually in Sault Ste. Marie, public, Catholic, French Catholic, and French public. And we got some videos in about 1-minute video about, what is your school doing for sustainability, and 2 schools got a free food cycler. The city supported Science North Youth Summer Climate Camp. We talked to them about our green roofs and bird friendly projects, had them, come up with ideas for that. Once again, the city partnered with the Sioux Naturalists, the Kensington Conservancy, and I believe maybe the Invasive Species Center, I can't remember fully, for the City Nature Challenge, but it was binational this year, so we participated in partnership with Michigan, Chippewa County, so it was great, we had a bigger reach. You can see all the results by clicking the hyperlink there. We also celebrated World Migratory Bird Day in partnership with the Kensington Conservancy and the Sioux Naturalists. Once again, we held our Bike to Work Week in partnership with the Sioux Cycling Club and Algoma Public Health. We had a series of 7 events where folks could get involved. Numbers are slightly down in comparison to last year, so it might be time to rethink how we go about this. Also Yellowfish Road, so you might have noticed in your neighborhood some students and yellowfish popping up. We worked with the school boards again this year, not just the Algoma district, but also the Catholic board. We're up from 400 students participating last year to 700 this year, painting yellowfish about stormwater pollution, which was really great to see. And we're hoping to keep that rolling on an annual basis. We also partnered again, 2nd year running, with the PUC and the Sioux Climate Hub, as well as the Queen Street Cruise for the 2nd EV showcase in Sault Ste. Marie. But we did it at the Queen Street Cruise. So we had a whole section devoted to electric vehicles, 2-day event. We tripled our outreach in comparison to our pilot event last year at PUC headquarters. Local car dealers were in attendance. Vehicle owners, the PUC brought some of their fleet over, and the Queen Street Cruise actually created an inaugural EV award. So it was a really interesting experience, to see this classic car show merging with where we're headed as a society with other vehicles. Mark, I don't know if you want to add anything about the EV showcase. You were a big part of that. Thank you to you and the PUC.
Nope, I think we're good. It was a good turnout and a lot of good conversation with people about it.
And also your charger program as well. You were able to promote that
Yep.
Program as well. So it was great, really good. 2-day event as opposed to 3 hours. Like I mentioned earlier, talking about the strategic plan, but there's also a housing community improvement plan that the city has available for public input. This is about any insights that you might have We're looking to increase housing in Sault Ste. Marie, so it's looking at different financial incentives. There is a public open house on the 22nd here at City Hall if you're interested in attending, but there's also a web link on slide 9 in your package if you'd like to provide some feedback there. Same goes for the strategic plan. A link to the strategic plan is noted. And if you have any comments or suggestions, you can submit them online, hyperlinked as well in slide 10 of your agenda package. The input period runs from today to September 9th. And that's it.
Anyone with questions for Emily?
I'm good.
Okay, I have questions. Okay. Is there more detail available to the public on the environment focus area? I am looking at what has been distributed for comment. Under focus area 3, it uses the word infrastructure. It says of 3 pillars, 1 is environment. It says be a leader in environmental sustainability. Net zero emissions by 2050, enhance and protect our public green spaces and seek opportunities to implement new sustainable solutions. That is very light on detail. And as a group of people who are charged with paying attention to what our plans are and what we are implementing and achieving our goals, I find that I wouldn't have enough. There is in no way to me enough information there for me to be able to provide any type of quality comment. And I think personally, I think that that as a group, we should be additional information should be shared with this committee. And any other committees, I won't get into that. But anyways, I think that additional information should be shared so that we could properly have comment on a strategic plan. There is nothing, in my opinion, there is nothing there for us to comment on.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, Donna, is I've made a note of that.
That's just a comment I'm giving back
Yep.
to you. I know you didn't.
Oh, no, but here's what I want to propose, because our next meeting is September 17th. As a committee,
Mhm.
and the feedback for this closes September 9th.
Mhm.
So I would like to propose, and maybe because we don't have a full house here today, we can just, I think I'll stop sharing my screen so I can see, but I just brought it up here so everyone could see it.
Yep.
Stop share. I just want to be able to see Nairi and Eric so I can see heads. What I would like to propose to address this is send out a poll, a meeting poll, and we can have an opportunity, because this is possibly the first time some of the committee members are seeing this in the agenda package. I can send it out to everyone more specifically about this item, and we can have a meeting I'm going to propose in August, even though we don't have one scheduled, where we discuss this in more detail and people come prepared with their feedback.
Thoughts?
You're muted, Nairi.
Yeah, no, that sounds good to me. I'm just, yeah, I'm looking at it right now for the first time, and yeah, there's not much.
Thanks, Nairi. Comments, anybody else?
I think that's a good idea. Or an August meeting, potentially.
And we can do it, like, if people are away or it's hard, we can always do it remotely. You know, it'll be like a special meeting where we.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just because it's summer, but like if we can all round up, great, but I know.
I'm personally, I will say, I don't know if a letter is in order in this. You all can say what you think. But I can say that having this group, having put the effort into prioritizing, making comments and suggestions over 1 year ago, and receiving that, being told that it was going to be taken and considered and talked about, and that consideration would be given for how money is provided to implement some of these very important ideas in terms of making progress on the environment in Sault Ste. Marie. And if that is the level of detail that is being provided for us to, for any resident to comment on, it is simply, in my opinion, it is simply irresponsible. It is not sufficient. And I don't know what we would talk about actually, Emily, at a meeting, because there is nothing to discuss if we're looking at that. If writing a letter back to, in response to the email that we did receive from Tom, which says we reviewed this and we request, you know, information that can help us better understand where you intend to take the ideas that this committee put forward, in the next year to 3 to 5 years, which is what was outlined there, then yes, let's sit down and have a conversation, but without that, without information coming back, I'm just not sure what we would talk about. We need to get together, I agree with you.
Yeah, it's just what I was proposing. I hear what you're saying. I think actually it's likely a multifaceted series of steps here, like everybody review, step 1, everybody review this strategic plan. I'll also resend the letter that was sent out as a reminder so we can compare. And then, you know, I think in the spirit of being solutions oriented, that we as a group meet and come prepared with suggestions for this draft document.
They should have responded.
Of improvement.
Our letter should have been responded to in detail.
Yeah, so what I'll do, Donna, is I will follow up with the committee and we'll get something cooking ASAP. Okay,
Thank you, Emily.
all right. Otherwise, any other comments about the staff update? Okay, so we are free to vote for closing.
Okay, oops, right here. So I need a mover and seconder to, well, at this time, this, the agenda shows our next meeting is September 17th. Of 2024 at 4 p.m. And with that, I need a mover and a seconder for adjournment. Tobin and Nairi, be it resolved that this committee now adjourn. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Take good care.
Thank you.
Enjoy your summer.